You are listening to Mining Stock Education.
Thanks for tuning in to Mining Stock Education. I'm your host, Bill Powers, and in today's show, we will be hearing an update from our sponsor, Coppernico Metals, and its chair, founder, and CEO, Ivan Bebek. Ivan, thanks for coming back on the show. You've been working hard in Peru at your Sombrero Project to get access, and you put out a press release today about potential more access in terms of time at Nioc and Fierrazo. Could you go over the significance of this and what it means in terms of when you will be able to put the drills in the ground?
Sure. So just as a scope for those who are new listeners, Sombrero is one of the most unique large-scale skarn alteration systems in the world that is yet to be explored properly. The area that you're referencing called Fierrazo is an area where there was 8 historic drill holes, which we were actually the first to assay for copper. And we saw significant grades of copper, much to what we're seeing on surface in the area, over 200 meters of 0.5% copper on surface and up to 120 meters of the same or better in drill holes, confirming the third dimension. This was a driving factor in taking on the decade-long pursuit to bring Sombrero online, which we're in the mature stages now of getting access to some of the best parts. You referenced Nioc as well, which we had recently put out some channel samples that were limited to outcropping rocks that we were able to cut with the rock saw, but they still yielded, tens of meters of plus 1% copper in a lot of those samples. So there's some of the most unique areas in the world and the scale of these targets that fit geologically that go with the grade on surface or those historical drill holes has really got us on the edge of our seat looking for a permit to drill. We had to come to terms with Aceros at Arequipa, who is a major steel producer in Peru. We've had a relationship with them for a decade to just do some academic transferring of title and whatnot and assume some liability to some previous work that they've done there previously. We don't view that liability to be significant, but we're happy to take it on so we get access to drill the areas, specifically Fierrazo, as we work on permits for both Fierrazo and Nioc in the background. The timeline to permitting and to drilling, it couldn't be faster. It's going to take some time here, but it is progressing. This was a major step. There's one last step here before we put permits in, and then we will be counting down the months before we can actually go drill it, which lands us in sometime in the first half of next year is what we're anticipating. Ideally in the end of the first quarter or early second quarter would be great, but we have no way of controlling that time frame. The issue there, or the complement there to going into permitting again, is we've been through it extensively since 2016. We've been getting permits on this project. We've had a chance to work collaboratively with the government and bring in a lot of agrodías, which is agricultural programs, into these towns in the Andes, which we're expanding those programs as I sit here in the interview today, and been able to provide a lot of jobs as well. So our rapport has been really positive with both communities that we're impacting in this region. We are working towards the second community agreement, and we're about to resume taking more samples in the area just north of Nioc, where we'll be able to expand on some of those really good results and build a real incredible stage as we enjoy rising copper prices as well with the recent shutdowns or interruptions at Grasberg.
So Sombrero is a project of projects. So even when we say Nioc is a target, it's a project in and of itself. Is Nioc and Fierrazo, are they your top 2 projects within this project?
So there's about 10 different, what we describe as premier or large scale tier 1 kind of exploration opportunities. But Fierrazo and Nioc have the most exposure on surface. And obviously Fierrazo has drill holes in it, which already confirmed the third dimension. So they rank as the most interesting because they're the most obvious. But if you go beyond that to Antipampa, which is just north of Nioc, it sits in the same rock formations as Fierrazo, with the Mara Formation and the lower Ferrobamba limestone units that are hosting a lot of that skarn mineralization we see over at Fierrazo. And then Tipicancha is pushing 3 kilometers in strike length with, a lot of pyrite. It tells us we're at the base of an epithermal system trending into a big porphyry system potentially. And it has 0.6 over 23 meters % copper, just near the surface and a small window of exposed rock. what you have to understand with Sombrero and how it was discovered was there was a big blanket of volcanic ash that covered most of these targets, and erosion in time exposed some of these areas, and the most exposed areas are Fierrazo and Nioc, but there are some other areas that are developing right now, south of these areas I'm speaking of, and also to the north, that are going to give us that pipeline. You referenced the project of projects. It's a pipeline of big opportunities individually could stand alone and be successes, but we call that a district, where if we're successful and we find multiple discoveries, they'd likely be mined in one main facility, but they'd be fed from several different aspects. What we saw early in the 2016 era when we acquired this project, we saw the opportunity to extend a really pronounced copper gold belt, with a large mine, Las Bambas being the 11th largest producing copper mine in the world, 200 kilometers to the east of us. And we saw this opportunity because of the volcanic cover. And our thesis is to extend the actual mining trend and have multiple major mines as they exist on the eastern side. And they're very analogous targets that could deliver that kind of potential as well.
Ivan, one of your big investors in the company is Teck, of course. Teck is merging with Anglo. Any feedback from them, and are you able to provide any commentary on that recent merger announcement?
Well, congratulations to Teck shareholders. I think it's a very complimentary, merge between the two, but it's, the note from them was business as usual. Go get your permits and go drill. But, there was nothing there that would indicate anything other than business as usual. It was, some really good updates here recently at Beaver Creek with them. And we also had a chance to meet with, Newmont, who's, owns about 6% of the company right now as well. And so, both shareholders were quite keen on what we're starting to see, coming out of the ground or on surface at Sombrero.
Okay. Beaver Creek, or the Denver Gold Show, any feedback you can give beyond, from your meetings at those two events?
Well, definitely in the start of a bull market in commodities. This was one of the busier ones that I've seen in the past decade. From my view, it's more about the quality and the scale of the opportunity. And there's a lot of companies getting some good value here. The space is heating up, but there isn't many tier one opportunities like a Sombrero that we see out there, or like a Curibaya in our tier one silver company that has silver and copper opportunities, or in Torque, Santa Cecilia. These big ones that take time and test investors' patience, they do until a certain point where you get to drill where you want to drill and you get to make the discovery. The backdrop of the maturity of these projects could fit perfectly within the rising commodity market. And we'll have a chance, if we're successful, to make up for a lot of lost time and the lost price movement. These companies, or Sombrero or Coppernico specifically, in my view, and it's extremely biased as a shareholder and as a CEO, it's well below the speculation of what could be there. It's not even close. Few analysts have been to site, had the same opinion. It just, the scale and the amount of grade that we're seeing and what this could be is truly unique globally, from a project that exists today at a time where we're seeing shortages in copper, and we're also seeing the big movements in gold and other commodities. So from that perspective, Bill, it's, I didn't see any other Sombreros at the Beaver Creek conference, although we're not drilling right now and we have a lot of work to do with the drill bit. The scale of the targets and the grade potential is what's really standing out unique to us. And it was in a lot of our meetings as well as unique to Sombrero.
You mentioned that you're pursuing a project in the States. Anything you can further provide information regarding?
Yeah, so we're at the end of some pretty lengthy due diligence processes on a couple things that we like. One's a massive pure gold play that we really would love to get into. Another one is a copper gold skarn porphyry system, and both of them would meet our threshold for being multiple targets, multiple tier one targets, world class, ready to drill right away, within, a month or two. And that's what we'd really like to do as we go into this next up leg in the marketplace. We'd like to have the ability to drill continuously versus waiting, and geopolitically, give ourselves that optionality so that we could always be active. Sombrero's well on its way to getting its permits. It will take priority when permits come in, but the kind of things we've been able to identify in the U.S. are quite substantial. So it's, the next 60 days, it's going to be crunch time to see if we can get a deal done with the owners and pull out the drills here in the U.S. One thing I will say is there's been a lot of change in the U.S. since the movement by U.S. administration, President Trump, talking about making things more favorable and more, less red tape for mining companies to get in. This is not taking environmental shortcuts, but there's been a big paradigm shift in some of the areas we're looking into, and we're going to see some states open up that weren't as easy to work in previously, and being on the forefront of that, being able to complement Sombrero with potentially a gold version of Sombrero in the States would be an outstanding achievement for us if we were able to do that. We are extremely, extremely excited about Sombrero coming online. And if we can make a couple of these acquisitions, we'd be an incredibly well-positioned junior company, really undervalued, with a chance to perform exceedingly well in the coming bull market with some incredible tier one swings, both in copper and in gold going forward.
All right. Well, thank you, Ivan. The company again is Coppernico Metals, website CoppernicoMetals.com, and ticker symbol on the big board in Toronto, COPR, and on the OTCQB, CPPMF. Thank you for this update.
Thank you so much.